Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Well, if that backing track doesn't relax you in the midst of the eye of the storm, nothing else will. It's health matters, and we are talking COVID. Obviously, we have to address this because on Sunday, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced that South Africa will move to an adjusted level 4 lockdown due to the surge in COVID-19 cases felt across the country. A new Delta variant of the virus that you would have heard about exhaustively in the news has been detected here in South Africa as we continue to fight the third wave of infections. Our trusted infectious diseases specialist, yep, we've got one on call, Dr. Emile Reid joins us this morning to chat a bit more about the current COVID-19 numbers, and we're going to be sharing some information on the new variants. And if you have any questions, as always, we'd love to connect with you. Give us a call right now, 021 110 5552. He hasn't been stumped yet, so maybe we can stump him this morning.
Dr. Emile,
Doc, welcome
man.
back.
It's so good having you in studio again.
Great to be
Amidst
back,
the chaos, you're always providing us with some clarity and some calm. And
Just grounding us, grounding us. Yeah, we need that.
Yeah, let's get grounded and let's start off with the basics in terms of where we are at currently in the current pandemic. A new wave has arisen. What's the stats looking like and the rest of the country?
How's your day job looking?
Yeah.
Well, we have been busy non-COVID-wise and currently also now COVID-wise. And as you may have seen, we're sitting with roughly about 160,000 active cases in the country. And we are busy surpassing our second peak. Even though we're only starting in the Western Cape.
Wow.
This whole third wave have been probably run by Gauteng province, which makes up about 2/3 of all cases currently in South Africa.
Wow.
The recovery rate, as we always sort of speak about, which is normally 94%, we're down to about 88% as well.
Is that because the Delta variant, as it's been dubbed globally, is more dangerous? Is it more transmittable? How does it fit into the grand scheme of things? And is this the so-called Indian variant? Is this the variant that's surfaced in India and that did so much damage there during their last massive wave?
Absolutely. And as you remember, viruses will always mutate.
They evolve.
Viruses evolve, they mutate. When they replicate, they are error-prone. And the big thing is we are expecting variants by the day. And currently, there are probably more than 1,000 variants described, of which 4 are sort of variants of concern. The one, remember, the Alpha or the UK variant, and then the variant from South Africa, or firstly described in South Africa, called the Beta variant. Currently, we're sitting with a Delta variant, first described in India in March of this year. And all of us remember the havoc that this Delta variant has caused and is still causing in India as well. And one of the colleagues the other day in an interview said, Gauteng is going to look like India if we do not do something about it. And when it comes to these variants, there's 4 big questions to ask. Number one, is it more transmissible? And what we know from the Delta variant up to now, that it is probably 40 to 60% more transmissible than the Beta variant, which we also know was about 50% more transmissible than the original virus.
This is how the virus has found its way.
Exactly. So this Delta variant is probably about 100% more transmissible than the original virus. The second question is it more dangerous? And the answer at this point is probably not, but we still need to wait and see what happens. And obviously, when you have a virus that is so transmissible, it actually means we're going to have more and more cases where we find families where one individual have been infected the rest will become infected as well. So again, as before, probably more so, our hospitals will be more overwhelmed as opposed to the second wave.
Yeah.
The third component is, does this virus or new variant escape the immune system? Is there immune evasion, as we call it? And the answer, unfortunately, is yes. Meaning that those who contracted COVID during the first and the second wave, that the antibodies which they have developed cannot fight this
So
Delta
you're not
variant.
invincible. You're
So
not
even
invincible,
if you had COVID towards the end of last year, and you might think that your antibodies will protect you, it's not going
You're
to
still at
protect
risk.
you. And then the fourth question would be, does this new variant evade the vaccinations or the jabs? And the answer, fortunately, is no. Not at this point at all. Okay. And hence the reason for us to push with the vaccinations and get the numbers up, because the longer you evolve this virus to continue and to spread and to replicate, the more variants we're going to see.
It's learning too quickly. Just want to be a part of the herd, man. I just want to be a part of the herd.
Yep.
We're going to talk vaccines in just a moment. Doc's going to stick around. If you've got any questions, please give us a shout. We'd love to hear from you. 011 or 021 rather, 110 5552 is the number to dial.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Yes, we are continuing our health discussion on the COVID-19 third wave. Infectious Diseases Specialist Dr. Emile Reid, and a good friend of our show, is here to talk more about vaccination rollout and explain a little bit more about the ivermectin drug. Before we do that, because I know that's quite a contentious thing and something that you're wary to speak about, but we're going to force you, unfortunately. But I want to, this morning, start with vaccines. You spoke about previous immunities, about immunity to previous variants. We reported this morning on news that multiple vaccines combined are actually having a better effect in some cases. Can you maybe run me through the difference between a vaccine immunity and an antibody immunity from having contracted the virus before?
That's a fantastic question, Graham. I think the most important thing is when you obtain or develop natural immunity, meaning that you have been exposed to the SARS-CoV-2 virus, you will develop antibodies specifically only towards that virus that you were infected with. Meaning that should this virus mutate or there's a new variant, that your antibodies will not work or protect you completely against the new variant. So that's the one problem. And that's the problem that we're sitting with as well with the Delta variant, that it is evading our immune system, our natural
He's had an upgrade.
The evader. And then the second thing is, with natural immunity, we find that natural immunity with time also wanes. If you compare that to vaccination immunity, getting your jab actually gives you much broader protection against even variants that have been and variants that might develop as well. Meaning it's a much broader antibody response that you develop. And also when you look at vaccination-induced immunity versus natural immunity, you find that vaccination immunity lasts about 5 to 10 times longer, so it doesn't wane as rapidly as natural immunity.
So it is a superpower.
Exactly.
A vaccine does give you superpowers.
Exactly. Yeah. And what we find is that there's been a recent publication about a month back where they are mixing different types of vaccines and to give us an even broader spectrum of coverage, and which also lasts much longer than just the one shot. as well.
Which I suppose plays into South Africa's hands, is because chances are we're going to have to do this piecemeal. We're going to have to get 1 million there, 2 million there. We're going to have to mix and match. It's the only way. Yeah.
And the one thing that we are extremely sorry about is the fact that we allowed AstraZeneca, the initial jab, to leave the country, because the AstraZeneca, 2 jabs of the AstraZeneca is fantastic against the new Delta variant, which protects you against serious illness and complications, probably as efficacious as 2 jabs of the Pfizer vaccine as well.
Wow. So, I mean, we're talking so much about protection. We're talking about the fact that there's a new potential opportunity to mix these. But another thing that people have been speaking about, and rumors flying around, positive and negatively, with regards to a form of a drug called ivermectin. Now, this has been hotly debated in media, and I think
What
you're the perfect
is
person.
it?
Yeah.
What is ivermectin, first of all? Is it even for us, for humans? Where does it come from?
Well, ivermectin is a drug that was probably founded in 1967, and it was used as an antiparasitic drug to filarial disease, strongyloides, worms, disease, even malaria as well. In South Africa, we use it for resistant scabies, so it's a topical formulation that we put onto our skin, and even for skin parasites. In South Africa, they also use it for cattle, for parasites that infest certain cattle, sheeps, etc. And when they develop certain worms, we give them ivermectin in order to kill those worms. And in any pandemic, the same as for COVID, you look at all different, all types of drugs that you want to repurpose for use in this pandemic. And there was an Australian study that was conducted in the lab where it indicated that ivermectin possesses antiviral properties. Unfortunately, the concentration that we need for those ivermectin and those viruses that we killed in the lab was way higher than what you need in human beings.
What is safe?
And we are very worried that the dosages required for eradicating worms versus the dosages that you require to eradicate COVID-19 in your lungs are completely different. Meaning that when you give people ivermectin at that specific dose, you might develop a lot of side effects as well, because it is a lipophilic anti-parasitic drug which cross your blood-brain barrier, goes into the brain and affect the GABA receptors, making you sleepy, making you nauseous, can induce coma, can induce convulsions, and also it gets eliminated via the liver. Meaning that if you are using other drugs that use the exact same mechanism, you might have
take a lot
complications.
Of strain.
So currently in South Africa, because of the lack of very well conducted studies, it is not advised for people to use ivermectin. But we do know that there are people that are prescribing ivermectin as well. And we are praying that ivermectin works.
But it's
because
not
we are
proven
so
yet,
desperate.
Well, I think like in so many cases now, the data just isn't there yet. We haven't had the years of study to go over the data that's been presented yet to make a conclusive case. So I certainly understand where you're coming from and why you are wary about even talking about ivermectin as an answer, but the side effects are very and can be incredibly serious. We're going to talk more about vaccines, where we are in the rollout right now, and who's next in line in just a moment.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Yes, you beautiful souls. We're still live, still chatting about something so important. It's obviously in light of the new lockdown laws that are coming through to our country, and infectious disease specialist Dr. Emile Reid is here to recap on this beautiful conversation. This is the third installment of our discussion on COVID-19, of course, and all the pandemic-related activities, the vaccine, the myths, the rumors. Dr. Emile Reid, it's been a pleasure chatting to you this morning.
I mean, we can
Thanks,
keep
Ralph.
locking it down. What is the answer here? Have we done enough? And what do you think is the most important take-home?
Well, I think, guys, the most important thing for everybody to remember that COVID is going to be with us
Forever. Yeah.
And we need to decide. We probably know we're not going to be able to eradicate or eliminate
Like the flu.
COVID-19,
No.
but we need to control it. And the only way for us to move on is to get vaccinated. Vaccines are our only way out of this pandemic. And the problem is, if we don't scale up our vaccination numbers rapidly in the next few months, COVID is going to be evolving, developing more variants, which is actually going to be more of a stumbling block than
More
ever
strain on the
before.
medical.
So we need to get vaccinated as soon as possible. And this whole thing of regulating vaccinations and schedules to the over 60s, the 50s to 60s, need to go. And everybody that wants a jab need to be able to go and stand in a line, get their vaccine and move on.
Yeah.
Because the longer this takes, the more problems and the more waves we're actually going to have.
It's going to happen. I wish we had hours to talk with you about this, but thank you so much. You do bring a great sense of calm into our studio, despite everything that's going on. I know it's real out there on the front lines where you're working every day, so thanks for stepping out of that, and please stay safe, stay calm. And I suppose the most important take-home for me, certainly, and I can speak from experience after my mom went for the vaccine, is how much more relaxed I feel after knowing that she has been vaccinated. So hopefully from your mouth to the right ears, it's all about the vaccines. Make sure when your chance does come that you do embrace it.